Barbara is.
Okay.
She's going to be there talking already.
Yeah, okay. Hi, Martin. How are you? Your program? Oh, my goodness, we can rectify that right now.
All friends already coming in. Already $10 in the plate. You ever seen that book called Zen Judaism? So one of the, it's just these little kind of Zen showing, but funny. One is breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Forget this, and reaching enlightenment will be the least of your troubles. See where you are in the order service? Okay. Anything else you need to do to orient?
Kristen is going to get back to you.
Okay, right, you're ready.
Thank you.
He's coming. How are you? Good morning, Walter.
Woody is doing it. Alice Woody, who is
Oh, okay, you're sitting there. You're sitting there. I'm just gonna Okay. All right.
what you got? Oh, there is. There's Atlas in the floral shirt with her back to us. Okay, there we go. Mm-hmm.
I refuse to go to Christmas before Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
I'll go out and ring the bell again and more insistent. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Just wait a minute and get started. That tends to draw people in. Starting out. That's a yes.
Good morning. I hope you all have time to enjoy this beautiful, sunny, little chilly, but sunny day. My name is Alice Woody. I'm a member of the board of TVUUC. I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the board and the program council. You all know this, and if you want to say it aloud with me, please do so. You are welcome here, whoever you are, wherever you are from, and wherever you are on your joining. on your journey. If you would like more information about TVUUC, please fill out the information card on the back of the seats or perhaps in the hymnals or somewhere, and you can drop it in the collection plate and someone will get back with you. Today, our COVID rating, our status is low, which means we do not have to wear masks, but certainly we are all of each other's keepers. And so if you feel inclined to wear a mask, please do so. If you or your family are interested in the religious education program, then please stop by the table that's just in the hallway outside, and they will be able to answer any of your questions. I believe Miriam is staffing the table today. There are some other announcements. First, coming up this Thursday, we are having a little potluck because we can't compare it to the one that we had recently on a Sunday as our homecoming potluck, but it is actually really and truthfully a Thanksgiving potluck. It starts at 12:30. Dress is casual, it's intergenerational, and you don't even have to do the dishes. The women's table is on Tuesday at 5:30. There will not be a choir rehearsal this week. Laughter is the best medicine. We'll be meeting at 12:30 on Friday. No, we are not having either choir rehearsal or laughter is the best medicine. There are goodies in the hallway for you to enjoy with your coffee or later, whenever you wish. And those goodies are being provided by the Little Pantry, and they are today selling goodies to benefit the Little Pantry. Today is Share the Plate Day for Family Promise, and you'll be hearing a little bit more about Family Promise later in our service today. I will say that our next Family Promise obligation happens December 18th through 24th, so please think about contributing this time if you can. Somebody from the auction committee was going to speak today. Who is that? I don't see anybody. Okay, great. Barbara will.
It's getting close, folks. It's getting exciting. There are some dates you need to remember. And the auction will open on December 1st. It will close, all bidding will close December 3rd at 9 p.m. But in the meantime, you can come for the party from 4 to 6:30, which gives you time to go home and make your final bid if you want to. Bidding can occur here. We will have people to help you during our festivities to make more bids if you're uncomfortable with making them yourself at home. Please come. We're going to have a good time. There'll be dancing from 5 to 6. So you can either just observe them or partake. So please come, enjoy, and bid up all your friends when you start bidding so that you can be the winner of these wonderful items, events, dinners, etc. Thank you so much.
In the German chorale, Ich ruf zu dir, Jesu Christ, the singer cries out in despair, asking Jesus to grant them pure faith. This version of by J.S. Bach was featured prominently in the 1972 film Solaris, where the characters wrestle with self-doubt that arises from the relationship between their memories, their family history, and their personal identity.
Good morning. Our opening words today are by Pat Uribe Lichty. We come together with our tired minds and bodies, with our confusion and questions, our uncertainties and our fears. We come together with our hopes, with our pasts and our ideas, our passions and our faith. We come together bringing all of who we are, trusting that in gathering we will be renewed, and that together we can create the world we long for. Come, let us worship together.
Please rise.
Each morning, we must hold out the chalice of our being to receive, to carry, and to give back.
Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another, this is our great covenant. Let us join together in our opening hymn, 149 in the gray hymnal, As Tranquil Streams. 145, thank you.
Morning. It is good to be gathered here today, together in all the ways that we gather, those who are right here in this sanctuary this morning, those who are watching from elsewhere in the building or from home. I'm glad to be with you today. And I have a story to share today that's an adaptation of a story written by Annika Harris called I Wonder. And it begins with a kid named Eva, who loved to take walks with her mom. And this particular evening, they were taking an evening walk when it was dark and the moon was out. How many of you have ever been outside and seen the moon at night? Yeah. Eva loved watching the moon as she walked, and it felt like it was following her. And it would disappear behind the trees or behind the clouds. How many of us have noticed that the moon sometimes seems to be coming along with us? And Eva was somebody who asked a lot of questions. Have you ever known somebody, or have you ever been somebody who asks a lot of questions? So Eva asked her mom, she said, Mom, why is the moon following us? And her mom said, well, that's a really good question. I wonder what you think. And Eva said, I think maybe the earth and the moon are friends. And her mom said, you know, it's really great sometimes when we have a question because you can say, I don't know, and then you can wonder about it. And that's such an exciting thing. And her mom said, actually, what keeps the earth and the moon close together, it's not really following us as we move, but what keeps the moon close to the earth is an invisible force called gravity. How many of us have heard of gravity? It is a force that pulls all the things in the universe together, and it's what keeps the moon near the earth, and what keeps all the planets circling around the sun. And then Eva had another question. She said, well, where did gravity come from? And her mom said, well, that's a really big question. People don't know for sure. We know that gravity exists. We know some of the ways it works, but we don't really know where it came from. And when you have a big question that we don't know the answer for, that's called a mystery. And a mystery is something that we can all wonder about together. As they continued walking, the moon slipped behind a cloud, and Eva continued to think, and then she had another question. The path they were walking on was a little sandy, and Eva said, I wonder how many grains of sand are in the whole world? Do you think her mom had the answer? Her mom said, well, there are trillions and trillions of grains of sand, but nobody knows exactly how many. That's another big question. That's another mystery. And Eva tried to think about all the grains of sand in the whole world. Can you think about it right now? Think about all the grains of sand in the entire world. And as Eva thought about that, she thought, oh, it's really hard. I don't think I can hold all those grains of sand in my mind. It makes me feel kind of dizzy. It's so big. And our mom said, yeah, I can understand that. I bet there are other people who feel that way too. Is it hard when you try to think of something that's so just almost unimaginably big? They continued walking, and then Eva noticed a little orange butterfly. Have you seen a butterfly flying? And her mom said, you know, that butterfly's been around for a couple of days, but before it was a butterfly, it was a caterpillar. And before it became a caterpillar, it was in an egg. And that egg came from another butterfly, and that is a cycle. And there are cycles all around us, sometimes that we notice and sometimes that we don't. And everything changes. Can you think of any other things that change? Her mother asked her. What are some things that you can think of that change? What do you think of that changes? Seasons change. Has anybody noticed some changing seasons? What are some other things that change? Leaves on the trees, I hear. Yeah. What else changes? Churches change. What else changes? Yes. It's getting cold, yeah. And I hear the climate changes. And Eva thought about lots of things that change. She thought about frogs change and clouds change. And then she said, oh, and me. Have any of us here ever changed? They were getting near the end of their walk and were getting close to their home. And so they went inside, and Eva ran in and said, oh, let's see if we can see the moon through the window now. And she continued having lots of questions and lots of things to wonder about. And every time we have a question and the answer right now is, I don't know, that is a little gift. It is something we can wonder about. It is something we can learn about. And every now and then it might be a big mystery that we don't have the answers for, and we get to imagine what the answers might be or explore lots of different things. And so this week, as you go about your week, I invite you to notice the questions that come up for you and celebrate wondering together. And I would love to hear about some of the things you wondered about when I see you again next week. So come and let me know. And that is our story for this morning. And those who are heading to our religious exploration programs will now head out as we share the recessional song.
Our first reading today is called The Freedom to Doubt by Paul Stephen Dodenhoff. The freedom to doubt, to question, to be content to live in mystery is central to the liberal religious tradition. Like the process of evolution itself, the path that we follow, our practice, if you will, is not easy or simple. It isn't without its dead ends or its disappointments. It doesn't guarantee that all of our conclusions will be final or that we will ever find an answer to all of our questions. But also, like the process of evolution, it is filled with great expressions of beauty and awe that are sometimes born of a great struggle and at other times come as unexpected grace.
This is a responsorial psalm, which means there's a part for you to respond to, and it is in your program. And Roy Kiersey is going to demonstrate that first, and then Ann Whitney will invite you every time it's your turn to sing the response.
Cherish your doubts, for doubt is the attendant of truth.
Cherish your doubt, for doubt is the attendant of truth.
Doubt is the key to the door of knowledge. It is the servant of discovery.
A belief which may not be questioned binds us to error, for there is incompleteness and imperfection in every belief. Cherish your doubts, for doubt is the attendant of truth.
Doubt is the touchstone of truth. It is an acid which eats away the false.
Let no one fear for the truth, that doubt may consume it, for doubt is a testing of belief. Cherish your doubt, for doubt is the attendant of truth.
The truth stands boldly and unafraid. It is not shaken by the testing.
For truth, if it be truth, arises from each testing stronger, more secure. Cherish your doubts, for doubt is the attendant of truth.
Those that would silence doubt are filled with fear. Their houses are built on shifting sand.
But those who fear not doubt and know its use are founded on rock.
They shall walk in the light of growing knowledge. The work of their hand shall endure.
Cherish your doubt, for love is the attendant of truth.
Therefore, let us not fear doubt, but let us rejoice in its help.
It is to the wise as a staff to the blind. Doubt is the attendant of truth. Cherish your doubts, for doubt is the attendant of truth.
Our second reading comes from Michael A. Schuler, called Cherish Your Doubts. Cherish your doubts, for doubt is the servant of truth. Question your convictions, for beliefs too tightly held strangle the mind in its natural wisdom. Suspect all certitudes, for the world whirls on, nothing abides. Yet in our inner rooms full of doubt, inquiry, and suspicion, let a corner be reserved for trust. For without trust, there is no space for communities to gather or for friendships to be forged. Indeed, this is the small corner where we connect and reconnect with each other.
Abraham Heschel once said, "Any statement about God is an understatement, and every word of prayer falls short of the experience of ultimate reality." And so the most deepest and most profound kind of prayer is complete silence. In that spirit, I invite you to join together with me in that silence of uncertainty, that silence of humility, that silence of deeper reality. Let us enter into silent prayer. Amen.
Good morning. My name's John Montgomery, and I will be sharing joys and concerns with you this morning as soon as I pull up my phone. Thank you. Today we are mindful of everyone who is anticipating the Thanksgiving holidays, everyone who is looking forward to joyful reunions, everyone who has unhealed relationships with family and friends, everyone who will have an empty seat at the table where someone used to sit, and especially those for whom this is the first Thanksgiving that they will be without that person. Everyone who will be experiencing solitude either voluntarily or unwillingly. We are especially mindful today of Carol Krause, who is home recovering from foot surgery. She's not able to yet put weight on her foot, but she is on the mend and doing well. We also are mindful of Ann Richardson, who has entered into hospice care at the NHC Healthcare Center in North Knoxville. Ann says, "I have lived a full life and have no complaints." She bought a round the world ticket in midlife and saw much of the world before going to grad school in library science. In my 50s, she says, "I did what Joseph Campbell told us to do. I followed my bliss." We're also mindful today of Mark Mahundro, who fell down during a dizzy spell and is now at home sporting a brand new cast and recovering from broken bones in his foot and leg. The recovery time is likely to be extensive, so we will be surrounding him with tangible acts of love and support in the days to come. We are mindful of Todd Shelton, who recently had surgery to repair a broken femur. He will be off that leg for up to 3 months as it heals. He and his wife, Polly Murphy, have been instrumental in launching TVUUC's participation with Justice Knox, and we offer them prayers for personal healing in the midst of their commitment to social justice. Also, Dwight Pittman and his partner Joy Meese are celebrating the fact that Dwight's son Forrest is back home after a 3-month stay in Blount Memorial Hospital due to complications resulting from a previous cancer. Forrest is much improved and healing well. Holding these joys and concerns in our hearts, those spoken and those that remain unspoken, let us send our love and light out into the world.
We are sending you light to heal you, to hold you. We are sending you light to hold you It's my job to introduce the technical dimensions of giving, but I would be remiss if I didn't say that we're hosting families who would otherwise be homeless during the holiday season. And nothing, as someone who's been involved in that process during the holiday season, nothing makes this place feel more sacred than holding a small child around Christmas time who might otherwise be homeless. So I encourage you to give generously to Family Promise. The ways that you can do are written in your order of service, and those are the order of service that's online as well. The simplest way, if you're online or just technically savvy, is to text the message, send TVUC and amount to 73256. So Alice Woody will tell us a little bit more about the work of Family Promise.
Family Promise is truly unique for helping homeless families in Knoxville. They are the only shelter that provides for family configurations to stay together rather than having the women and children go one place and the men go another place. This allows families to stay together and receive food and shelter while receiving guidance on finding affordable housing, which, as we all know, in Knoxville is very hard to do right now, and any counseling that would help them to get a better paying job. And I say get a better paying job because one of the requirements, in addition to not being on drugs, things of that sort, is that the people be able and willing to work. Now, they do recognize disability. If you can't work, that's all right. They will take you. But if you aren't disabled, then they do expect someone in the family to be working or looking for a job. I have some brochures that tells you a little bit more about the ancillary programs in addition to their main job of sheltering families and providing at least the evening meal. I'm sure they provide other food as well, but churches aren't asked to provide breakfast and lunch, but they do provide dinner. There are probably about 22 congregations in the city of Knoxville, Knox County, that participate in the program by sheltering the families that have been accepted into the program at the church, on the church campus, and providing food there. During the pandemic, people stayed either at the Family Promise building, which wasn't great, or in a motel. And we continued to provide, everybody did, TVUC included, food for the families. We took it to the Family Promise Center, and the people were able to eat whenever they wanted to. I thought I'd tell you a little bit about how the program is implemented at TVUC. Right now we have 2 co-coordinators. Betty Coleman, stand up, turn around, let people see you. Betty Coleman and I are the 2 coordinators, and if we do end up going through, having people again here, then we will be looking for a 3rd coordinator, because we have 3 main areas that we have divided this job into. That is setting up the beds, the education rooms, the playroom, things of that nature, providing food, and then having at least 1, preferably 2, members available to stay overnight. It's really a fairly easy job. Jody Hamilton used to say, that's the easiest volunteer gig you will ever have, because all you do is show up and go to sleep. Obviously, if somebody's pounding on your door, you get up and help them, but that rarely ever happens. But we have a lot of instruction available to help us do this correctly. Their mission is put in this, this little brochure, which, oh, by the way, they're going to be on the welcome table as you leave the building. And not only will it give you more detail about their ancillary programs, but it will also tell you what their mission is and all of those things. The mission's dry words, but the narrative is particularly of heartfelt meaning because they take families of any configuration. They don't force families to separate. And I think that's really important to us at TVUUC. You don't have to be married. You don't have to have a man and a woman. You can have any configuration you want. As long as you consider this to be a family, it is a family. They also have an insert with the numbers of people that were served, both children and families, for the entire Knox County area from 2005 up through the last date was 2021 because we haven't finished 22 yet. So that is available. We will be having our next food service, which will still be with the families in motels, December 18 through 24. We're probably going to be asking for gift cards for Kroger on the 24th and possibly the 23rd also, just depending on what Family Promise is doing and whether or not the families are coming into the day center or not. So that's where we will be active. We're going to use either Sign Up Genius or Google Doodle, whatever it's called. At any rate, we were going to find some way to do this on electronically so that we can have people sign up for a main dish or a side or whatever, so have a little bit more flexibility in providing food. Let's see, what else is important here? The whole program is important. That's the point. It keeps children with one family member, if that is needed. You don't get these sort of halfway grown-up people having, say, men go to a shelter, but they will be able to stay with one or both of their families. I don't know if they have a third adult section there, but they probably do. It's important for us as a church because we partner with the Jewish Alliance and with Unity Transformation, which is a small, mostly Christian worship service. Neither of these groups have enough room to help people stay there. In fact, Unity Transformation doesn't actually have a church campus. They basically just provide food one time, but it's great. They get to participate and help family who are homeless And then the other thing to point out is that when I was talking with the director the other day, I asked her what was the main cause of homelessness in Knoxville, and she did not hesitate to say that it was lack of affordable housing. So they work very hard on getting as much housing at an affordable price available as possible, and there's some explanations in there. If any of you have any questions, please shoot me an email or call me and leave a message. I'm in the directory, so you ought to be able to do that. Betty, I'm sure, would be happy to take any calls or anything of any questions of that nature, but I do hope you will consider giving generously. Very few of us have experienced homelessness, but it is a very traumatic event, and we need to keep these people in our hearts. Thank you.
This offertory is from an opera called The Tenderland by Aaron Copland. In the song, Laurie is graduating the next day, and she's looking out at the horizon and saying to herself, "Once I thought I'd never go outside this fence, but that line between the earth and the sky came beckoning to me. I'd love to go down all those roads. Who knows what will now begin? The time has grown so short, the world so wide."
I often describe my brother-in-law, Larry, as a bleeding heart conservative because he likes his taxes low and he likes small government, but he's a total sucker for any hard luck story. And he will loan out money to almost anybody in need, and he will give someone a second chance by giving him a job in his company. And one day, someone stole a truck from his business, and he knew exactly who did it. And so at the nighttime, he drove to that neighborhood, saw the truck, got into the truck, hot-wired it, and drove it back to his house and parked it in the driveway, went to bed, and when he was lying in bed, he thought to himself, I hope I got the right truck. Well, sure enough, he woke up in the morning and took a second look at that truck, and it did have slight differences from the truck that had been stolen from his business. Fortunately, he lives in a small enough town where everybody knows everybody, so he called the police to explain what he'd done. Lots of police cars showed up, mainly to laugh at him or with him or whatever you do in such circumstances. And fortunately, the owner of the truck was also amused and did not press charges. I think one of the reasons I love this story is that every one of us has been in a similar situation, maybe not quite so dramatic, but I think every one of us has been in a situation where we were certain we were right, and only later to painfully and to our own mortification discover that we were wrong. It is stories like this, and I feel sure that every one of us in this room has a story like this, that leads me to speak about the virtues of uncertainty. Now, many of the world's religions place a lot of emphasis on firm beliefs and convictions and judgments. Many religions advocate for holding convictions without compromise. However, in the Unitarian Universalist Church, we believe in the virtues of uncertainty. What other people consider a weakness, we consider to be one of our greatest strengths. The Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes once opined that certitude is not the test of certainty. And one of the reasons I know this quote is because I once served a church in Spartanburg, and we built a sign that would have room so that you could put quotes that people could read as they drove by the church, inspiring quotes. But after we built the sign, we realized that the font on the quotes had to be so big we could only use quotes that were 7 words or less. And let me tell you what I learned from that. There are not many good quotes that are 7 words or less. But one of those is certitude is not the test of certainty. That one stayed up for a long time. And for reasons, other reasons as well as that one, it's been an important theme in my ministry. Just think about how much certitude we see in the world. Politicians who are certain they've won the election before the votes are counted, and even after the votes are counted, sometimes, numbers don't add up. Certitude instead of certainty. One of the reasons I think it's important for us to lift up the virtues of uncertainty is because that's one of the most important ways we work for peace in the world. The men who hijacked planes and tore down the World Trade Center, they were certain that they were on the cause of right. The domestic terrorists responsible for the Oklahoma City bombing, the people who shot up the Pulse nightclub and possibly the club in Colorado Springs last night, the attack on the Pittsburgh synagogue, the person who burned down the Planned Parenthood center in our own community and fired a shotgun at the federal building. Folks who do that are certain they are right. Certitude under the illusion of certainty is one of the major causes of violence and bloodshed in our world. The Unitarian Universalist Church comes from the left wing of the Radical Reformation, where there is a lot of distrust of certitude. Our liberal Christian forebears observed that those who are most interested in theological purity and theological clarity on all the metaphysical questions are often the most devoid of Christian charity. Those who are most certain of themselves are often the most savage in their treatment of others. Those who are most certain that they are good are capable of the most basest form of evils against others. During the Albigensian Crusade of the 13th century, the violence wasn't between different faiths, it was Christian on Christian violence. During one military campaign, the papal legate, the representative of the Pope, Abbot Arnaud Almerac, ordered his men to invade the city of Béziers in the south of France and murder everyone, even though the majority of the people in that city were Catholic, allies to his boss, the Pope, and only a tiny minority with the opposition group, the heretical Christian group, the Cathars. When his soldiers approached him and asked him, "Sir, what shall we do, for we cannot distinguish between the faithful and the heretics?" he said, "Kill them all, God will know his own." Or as the vernacular says, "Kill them all and let God sort them out." By Almeric's own estimation, he killed 20,000 people on that day. And the trauma of that massacre, committed long ago in the year 1209, still resonates in that city today in the year 2022, where it is sometimes compared to the trauma of the bombing of Hiroshima or Nagasaki, a devastating explosion of violence that killed everyone, women, children, men, without discrimination, with a sense of PTSD. Reverberations coming down through the century to that community today. Abbot Almerac was able to commit these atrocities because he was certain he was right. He was certain. He was certain. He was certain God was on his side. Such a massacre is one of the strongest arguments I know for the virtues of uncertainty. The prophet Micah said, "What does the Lord require of thee but to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly?" Walk humbly with your God. One of the great champions of the virtues of uncertainty is Sebastian Castillo. And one of the ways, you benefit from my theological education, and you may not benefit every Sunday, is that it's very hard to find a book about Sebastian Castillo that's in English. So I worked hard, and he's really someone we should remember. Sebastian Castillo lived in the 16th century during the wars of religion in France, where Protestants were killing Catholics and Catholics were killing Protestants. And Castillo argued that the only teaching in the Bible that we need to know, because there's a lot of teachings of the Bible where a lot of teachings of the church that aren't clearly taught in the Bible. There's a lot of metaphysical statements made by the church that are not clearly taught in the Bible. But he said the only commandment we really need to know is love one another. Love one another. The true church, he declared, will be known by love which proceeds from faith. By this all shall know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. The doctrine of piety is to love your enemies, bless those that curse you, to hunger and thirst for righteousness, to endure persecution for righteousness' sake. These and similar matters are certain, however dubious may be the obscure questions about the Trinity or predestination or election, and the rest on account of which people are regarded as heretics. Many of the saints knew nothing of such doctrines. So there's a Jewish statement it's a saying, you might hear a friend say it. It's, if I knew God, I would be God. If I knew God, I would be God. Or as Abraham Heschel said, any statement about God is an understatement. If we understood God, we would be God. If our religious beliefs were certain, we would be godlike in our omniscience. Or as the Christian mystic Evelyn Underhill said, any God small enough to be understood by your brain is not large enough for our reverence and our awe. In other words, the heart of theological reflection is humility, not hubris. Theology should never become claiming to know more than we can know while refusing to practice what we do know: love, compassion, kindness, mercy, forgiveness. Now, if we get our theology wrong, it's a small sin because that only affects ourselves. But if we do not love one another, if we are not kind to each other, if we do not have compassion for each other, that's a large sin because it affects everyone else in our lives. Everyone else. Now, in Sebastian Castillo's time, it was common for someone to be put to death for heresy, including Michael Servetus, a Unitarian who was put to death in Geneva. And Castillo wrote of this death, he said, "After careful investigation into the meaning of the term heretic, I can discover no more than this, that we regard those as heretics with whom we disagree." So we hold people as heretics simply because we disagree with them. He continued, "Today in Christian churches, some of the most saintly persons are put to the death indiscriminately. If the Christians entertained a doubt about what they were doing, they would not perpetrate such dreadful homicides for which they will have to repent." So Castillo argued that the metaphysical questions may be open for disagreement, but there are teachings that are clear. Love your neighbor as yourself. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The true test of whether we are on the correct spiritual path is about how we align ourselves with love and justice and peace. This ancient Reformation theology has ramifications for people of all beliefs today. Neuroscientists tell us the human mind is not, it is not an instrument which you can understand everything. It doesn't let in all the information. The human mind, in fact, screens out much of reality so that it can focus on those aspects of reality that are most useful and most helpful at the moment. And this is not just true in our individual lives, it's true at the university down the street where the science gets broken into smaller and smaller parts so that you can focus on things in particular. So you have biology, anthropology, chemistry, ecology, astronomy, and physics. Medical science is the same way, where the general practitioner makes referrals to cardiologists, endocrinologists, dermatologists, neurologists, oncologists, ophthalmologists, and more. The discipline, the human mind seems to need to narrow things down in order to understand and comprehend them. Only take in part of reality. This week I was listening to an interview with philosopher Ron Priere, and his image I will apply to religion. He applied it to all ideas, but I'll apply it to religion. He says, our theologies are like icons on a computer screen. They are a simple symbol which symbolizes and represents something much bigger than itself, a program that's much larger than the icon. Each icon is sort of a gateway into a larger experience or a more complex experience. So imagine the symbols of the world religions as icons on your computer screen, with the cross and the Star of David and the crescent moon of Islam, or the yin-yang symbol, or the Dharma chakra wheel of Buddhism, or the Wiccan pinnacle, or the iconographic version of the word Om from Hinduism, each icon a gateway into a larger experience if you choose to click on that icon. Indeed, the Sufi tradition reminds us that the crescent moon of Islam is meant to remind us of how little we really know. Just a sliver of light. And even that light doesn't come from the moon, it's a reflection from a larger source. So each one of us has reason to think about this slim sliver of light that is our knowledge. And that should lead us into what the philosopher Dominic Erdőzin calls a holy reluctance to dogmatize, a sacred conviction, a sacred reluctance to dogmatize. Now, when the Reverend Duncan Teague was our ministerial intern, we were driving out to Oak Ridge for a meeting at a Mexican restaurant, and I was doing what mentors do with their interns. I was opining on matters of the church, and we were talking about conflict in the church, and I said one of the problems with conflict in a church is people get part of the information, and they fill in the rest with their imagination. And they're certain that it's all true. And as I was saying this, I could not find the Mexican restaurant where we were supposed to meet, so I got my cell phone out. I called Jake, who was the minister of Oak Ridge at the time. I said, Jake, where is this Mexican restaurant where we're supposed to meet? And he said, Chris, we're not meeting at a Mexican restaurant. We're meeting at the church. We're eating Mexican food. I turned to Duncan and said, see, that's what people do. Take part of the information, fill in the rest with their imagination. The philosopher Blaise Pascal once wrote, if we could never act except on a certainty, we could never act because nothing is certain. Every action we take, every belief we hold, every choice we make is made in the face of uncertainty. As the Apostle Paul wrote, we walk by faith, not sight. And all we can do with this uncertainty is live into the wisdom of that Quaker leader, Carolyn Fox, who said, live up to the light thou hast, and more shall be granted thee. So, next time someone steals your truck, take some time to ponder and to reflect and think through your decision before you take action. And when you take action, be sure to fill that action with love and kindness and mercy and forgiveness and all the emotions you want to be on the receiving end of if it turns out you hotwire the wrong truck. In this way, we could all benefit from the virtues of uncertainty. So be it. Let's join together in our closing hymn, 287 in the gray hymnal, Faith of the Larger Liberty.
Expanding, oh.
Prophetic Church, the world awaits your liberating and humble ministry. Go forward in the power of love, proclaim the truth that makes us free. Let people living in all lands declare that fear and hate are done. Rise above differences and stand in love and understanding one. After the service, I invite you to socialize in whatever way is most comfortable for you, whether on the patio or in the fellowship hall or outside in the front where I will be. Is our last act of worship. I invite you to turn and greet your neighbor.